This time, I guess we lost Adi.
Lost the host.
We lost the host.
I'm back. Is it recording? All right, cool. Technical difficulties. That's normal, but yes. We have Mr. Light the Beam Ashwin, and then as always, we have our other folks from Mr. Mile High, World Traveler Anush. He's back in action after some load management last week. And then we have Mr. Orlando. Hey, what's going on, folks? I'm glad we get to deep dive, man. This is what we talked about.
Podcast is not brought to you by Spectrum.
No. We going to Xfinity for sponsorships at the right time. But fellas, man, week 2 of the playoffs, there's been obviously a lot of headlines and surprises so far, right? So I think let's just dive into, I think, the main takeaway one. I think that surprised me at least. Want to get you guys' thoughts on was, looks like we got to trust the process a little bit longer. I don't know how they keep pulling this off, man. I just wanted this to be a sweep so we can move on to the next round. But they decided to play ball on the road. I guess they're just allergic to like the cheesesteaks. I don't know what it is, but they like to play ball on the road. But we got ourselves a game 6. So let's see your guys' thoughts on that. And should Boston be actually concerned is the real question. Anush, you're muted. Go ahead, man. Whoever wants to go.
No, man,
I know you're muted. But we can hear you now.
Go ahead.
I thought Boston came out with a lack of energy today. I feel like they took things for granted a little bit. And obviously the 3-point variance. Philadelphia is not a good 3-point shooting team. All regular season, you saw it. And today they just hit a lot of threes. And Boston didn't hit a lot of threes. That's basically the simple version of everything that happened. But obviously Joel Embiid looked really good, especially in that third quarter. He just took them. I mean, Kata was in foul trouble, so they're missing their starting center. And then they brought in Vucevic, who just does not offer any resistance in the low post. So Embiid had his way. They rode that, as well as a flurry of 3-pointers. Quentin Grimes was essential, especially in the fourth quarter. I think he was like 4 for 5 throughout the game. But every time Boston even put up a little bit of a run to try to get back in, Grimes just kept hitting threes. And then obviously Maxey was just brilliant throughout. So that was kind of my insight into that. But I think Boston comes back and closes it. What do you guys think?
I think Boston definitely closes it. I mean, unless for some reason Paul George gets, some kind of miracle, comeback performance, he would be the one X factor, I would say, for Philly. I don't expect Embiid to have another great performance either. In the next game, I feel like they're gonna find a way to exploit him. I think they're gonna close it up.
Yeah, I think Boston had this game. I think they gave
Yeah, I
it
mean,
away, right? Sorry, go ahead.
I don't think playoff P is gonna show a spark, but like what Anush was saying, the Celtics are a very 3-point, dominant team, and their majority of scoring is 3-pointers. And so if they're not hitting on a given day, it's a 50-50 chance they lose at that point. So I mean, the amount of times, luckily, that's happened in the season and in their little stint, not often. So I mean, I'm pretty sure they'll bounce back and they'll close it up, but it'll be interesting to see how they recover in the next game.
Go ahead, Viggy. I know you had some thoughts on it.
Oh, no, I mean, I was just going to say Boston had this game. They blew it. It wasn't like, the 76ers ran the game from the get-go or anything like that. I do agree, like, the threes were a big deal. I think the other factor also was that Joel Embiid, once he started seeing those double teams come, he did really well to kick it out and find the open guy. And so if he's looking for his teammates and he's able to attract a double team and find the open teammate, and they can play like Grimes did today, and they can play like, all the other guys who hit those big jump shots. I think, the Sixers can pose a threat. Again, I felt like the Celtics played a good game until the fourth quarter, really. So I expect them to close it out next game.
Yeah, and I think just looking at the stats, and I think Anush call it out, but Philly made 4 more threes. I mean, they both weren't really shooting that good. I think around like 30% or a little under 30%. And they shot the same amount of free throws. So again, I didn't watch the game, but to your point, it sounds like Boston just checked out. I don't think anyone expects Philly to win the next game, but I am, from what we see in the playoffs, right? It just takes one play to change the season's trajectory, right? So I'm just surprised by Boston as a championship team who's won, right? Who's trying to get their other ring, why you wouldn't take care of business. I mean, it happens, but we'll see though. I think maybe there seems like there's a little bit of differing between Brown and Tatum still, trying to figure out their chemistry in the playoffs, but I would be surprised if it goes to 7. Yeah, I just think.
The Grimes too. That's played great defense on. He played great defense on Jaylen Brown in the fourth quarters. Not just was he going to hit his shots, he was also playing pretty good D. There's this one play where like he forced Brown to the back court, and Brown struggled to get back in. They ran him like the shot clock ran down. So there's a lot of moments like that, and the Celtics just looked discombobulated. They sucked the energy out of the arena too. So I don't expect that to happen again. I expect like Celtics to bounce back, but you never know. Let's see. Let's see what happens.
Absolutely. And I think too, obviously, like Joel Embiid's a great player, and that's not to say that Joe Mazzulla didn't prioritize like prepping your defense plan, but like, it's like if an all NBA talent just gets plopped in like half an hour before the game, it's gonna take a little bit to go off, right? And so I'm sure there's probably a little bit of like, let's see if he's really looking like the MVP version of Embiid. So I fully trust Mazzulla will make some adjustments schematically, right, on the defensive end to make, can Quentin Grimes beat him again? Can Kelly Oubre beat him again? Can Drummond beat him again? I think that's what it'll come down to. I think obviously VJ Edgeo looks like he didn't have like a huge game, but you expect, Maxey, playoff P and Spurs to be like consistent, but it's gonna come down to those other role players to see if they can push them to the brink. And hey, you get to a game 7, anything can happen. I mean, Boston, you remember 3 years ago, they were down 3-0. They got to a game 7, but Tatum rolls his ankle, right? So this again just goes back to you just don't want to play with the basketball gods. I think we've seen it, right, time and time again. But
it's interesting, right? So we all think the Celtics are going to win. It's just a little bit of forecasting to what comes in the next round as well. Again, Embiid's size really bothers the Celtics front court. What are we looking at next round? Knicks look good today. Knicks have size, so it's just going to be something to look at. Are the Celtics going to try to go small next round versus try to match up through their size? Some things to think about.
Yeah, no. And moving on to the Knicks, I'm not even gonna lie. I was down bad on the Knicks. It looks like they're coming up for air. I'm not gonna say anything yet. Let's see if. By the way, I want the Knicks to do it. I'm not a Knicks hater, by the way, Surya, if you're watching this. But they look bad, but they've turned it around. I think obviously, Brunson has let Towns operate a little bit more, and great team win today. I don't think Mikal Bridges played like someone worth 6 first-round picks, but hey, they're still winning despite of that. They'll need him in the next round. But overall dominant performance, they did what they're supposed to do. And the real question is, again, do they want to mess around and get to a game 7, or are they going to handle business again? I think that's really what it comes down to, because the Hawks, they have a lot of young pieces, right? Jalen Johnson, Pastor Daniels, like they're on the come up, right? So even if they don't win this series, they're going to be around. So you don't want to, again, get to that game 7 where it takes one player too. So as a championship contender or championship aspirations, you got to take care of business. I expect them to come out swinging, but you never know.
Yeah, this game, I mean, it's top 2 players in the series, right? It's going to be Jalen Johnson on the Hawks side and Brunson on the Knicks side. And who is going to really take the reins of the series and be like, hey, I'm going to establish some dominance and I'm going to lead my team. And it was Brunson today. I mean, he was just masterful, especially near the end of the game where they just kept pulling away. His superpower is his footwork. He just controls everything with fakes, his footwork, and is able to create space despite his diminutive stature. So he was just really good at that. And honestly, CJ McCollum clock struck midnight and he could not continue what he was doing earlier in the series. So that also played a big role. Overall, I mean, the Hawks were just kind of flat and they couldn't keep up with them at the end. So we'll see what kind of energy they have when they go back to the Fortress in Atlanta and see what happens.
Mr. New York, stand up. Shiba, what you got for us, man?
Well,
About the Knicks overall.
I think they definitely showed their offensive strength more. Like, I think there's like a whole lot of miscommunication in the last, like in a couple games before that led them to blow their lead, and it was very frustrating to watch that live. So it's like, it's not it was definitely discouraging, but I think Knicks are still like more talented team. But the Hawks, they did a decent job restructuring things, right? Like building around, like in a sense, it's like CJ McCollum has that like playoff, the veteran attitude that the Hawks are benefiting from for sure. But yeah, like I was mentioned earlier, I don't think he's enough. Like his ceiling is definitely reached. It's just a matter of Jalen Brunson trusting the other guys, like trusting people like Cat, getting him in a better position. And I think Cat was better utilized. So if that continues to an extent, I think that they're definitely like going to be the favorites to win. But yeah, it comes down to coaching too, right? Like those like last second mistakes that happen. I think running the correct offensive plays, because you got like good scorers, right? You got like Mikal Bridges, he can score well, but then like there's a lot of random droughts because I feel like the coaching hasn't been there hasn't been a lot of fluidity in those guys' offense. So yeah, that's the only thing to be kind of a little cautious of, So, I mean, I'm right in the middle of everything, right? So I'm really hoping that they continue on this and just like close it out soon, because yeah, it's really sad to see all these Knicks fans, frustrated in these sports wars. So hopefully that doesn't continue.
Hey, man, I think the NBA is better when the Knicks are relevant. But yeah, real quick before I pass it to Viggy, yeah, dude, Anush, Brunson had a Brunson game. I'm just looking at the stats now. He dropped 40 and an efficient 40. So he was due for a big game. I think we knew he'd figure it out, but I think it's important that in the next game, he brings everyone else around, right? I think for them, they're going to have to play through Cat this series because he has a mismatch. Like, I mean, Kuminga's a great up and coming player, but he has no business stopping Cat, right? Cat's in his prime. Like, he's an all NBA, like, big, one of the best shooting bigs in the game, arguably ever. So, play with the mismatch. And I think Brunson is starting to defer a little bit more. But I guess, Viggy, what's your read on the Knicks Hawks from when we last talked about it? And do you think they figure them out, or do you think they're still like the Hawks got a couple of tricks up their sleeve that we haven't seen yet?
No, I think we've seen those tricks, right? I think at the start of the series, I personally did not give the Hawks much of a shot in the series. So they proved me wrong. They proved a lot of other people wrong too. I think we kind of just like figured the Knicks would roll through this first round. We were more focused. I think both the Celtics and the Knicks series. A little bit disrespectful, but I think we're more focused on how's that Celtics Knicks series going to look as opposed to what's in front of us right now. I think the Knicks close it out. The Hawks gave us some entertainment. They made it a series. It was fun, but I mean, I don't really see the Hawks coming up with anything new at this juncture. They're still young. Like some of you guys pointed out, this is not their like win now moment. They got that coming for them. But right now, like they're just not built to take on the Knicks. It's still going to be the Knicks, but just not as easily as we initially figured it would be.
Exactly. I mean, that's again, like obviously, like I know in the playoffs, it's easy to feel like some teams are like a lot better, but there's only a couple of games lost. And if you watch the regular season, I think their games came down to the wire too. And I think the Hawks would have won one or two more games if CJ hit another buzzer beater. So again, I think too, it'll probably end in game 6. But the Hawks have a young core of Jalen Johnson and Nikhil Alexander Walker, most improved player of the year. They'll continue to get better. So it's been relevant. But yeah, I want to get to the 2 series that are left in the Eastern Conference, or not left, but that I have us in shambles a little bit, right? Like, I mean, the Cavs Raptors series, like I saw part of that game. When I first saw the third quarter score, I thought ESPN got hacked because it was like 49-46. I'm like, there's no way in 2026 we got a game like halfway through the third that's that low. But dude, I mean, when Miggy and I were talking about this, man, you put, respectfully, they're both great players, but you put people who just don't show up in the playoffs as a duo and you expect them to lead you somewhere, it might not be a winning recipe. So I guess, Anderson Shibu, what's your thoughts on the Cavs Raptors series? And do you think the 6 might have a surprise for them, or do we still expect the Cavs to pull it out?
I just think the Raptors play really like with a tenacity at home. Like they really want to identify their presence. So in those moments, like if that happens, and then Ingram decides to play up to his potential, right? But a lot of times he's been a stickler. So I feel like I don't expect him to be as consistent as he's been over like in his New Orleans days. He's not going to be that guy. They're going to rely a lot on Scotty Barnes. I don't know. I just feel like Harden, yes, he has a lot of like he has a lot of dud moments, but I just feel like his scoring with Donovan is definitely going to be, something that's going to be hard for them to combat in terms of like outscoring each other. So I don't expect it to go that much longer. I think the Cavs will close it out eventually, but yeah, I still think they're I still think Cleveland.
Yeah, it's just, I mean, are the Cavs just going to take care of business or not? They're the more talented team. I'm surprised that, I mean, this has happened in the playoffs a couple times now. The Cavs, I mean, their big guys got to be big. They got to take advantage of the fact that they're playing against. I mean, Pirtle's big. But, I mean, Colin Murray Boyles is not going to. He's not supposed to come in as a rookie and like goon you guys. Like, what's going on? Mobley, Allen, they have to exert their dominance. They have to take some heat off of these guards. Mitchell has been like kind of carrying them over the past couple of years in the playoffs, and just kind of looks around. He's like, "Are you guys coming with? What's going on?" And Harden, I mean, he's Harden. He's more of a front runner, especially in the playoffs. But they need his playmaking, they need his passing. That could even unlock the bigs a little bit more with the pick and roll game. But I mean, to Raptors, the only way they were going to do this was to muck it up and just make it this rock fight where they just bring them down to their level and hope it goes their way. And that's what's kind of happened the past 2 weeks. Sorry, the past 2 games. So the Cavs need to wake up, but they haven't really proven that they would do that or take things far over the past couple of years. So the Raptors feeling confident. They're a young team. We'll see where it goes.
I mean, I think the Cavs are pulling this out still. Anush hit it on the head. I think Jared Allen and Evan Mobley cannot get bullied the way they got bullied in Game 3 and Game 4. They're bigger. I mean, like, not bigger than them per se, but then they're not small guys. And one of the things that went in their favor in the past has been they've been this like twin tower dynamics. It makes it really hard on teams to play them. And that was one of their like strengths. And the Raptors kind of not took advantage of, but like beat them at their own game, if that makes sense. And number two, James Harden can like run the offense for 3 quarters. I'm okay with it. But when it comes to fourth quarter, I would like to see Donovan Mitchell have the ball a lot more. And one of the things that he saw in that first half was the Cavs launched a shit ton of 3-pointers and they weren't falling. It was like they were like 4 for 19 or something. And then in the second half, Donovan attacked the basket at the start of the second half, had a couple of plays, couple of mid-range shots, and then they went away from it again. And then we get to fourth quarter and we see James Harden like bring the ball up, trying to figure out a play and so forth. I would much rather see that shift go to Donovan Mitchell because he's a proven playoff player to a certain degree. Compared to James Harden, especially I would like James Harden to be that extra role player on this team and not like the ball dominant guy that we saw in Game 4, especially. If they can make that switch, first of all, Allen and Mobley have got to be bigger, they got to be stronger, they can't get bullied the way they got bullied. But number two, I would like to see Mitchell be a little bit more proactive, more intentional, and aggressive in the fourth quarter. I think we lost our host for a second.
Yeah, we lost our host. I mean, I totally agree. I mean, Shubham, if you want to take this first.
No, I agree. I think Evan Mobley has always had an issue when it comes to like going up against teams with like serviceable centers. So he just ends up shrinking. So like I think he needs to definitely step up and Jared Allen as well. I think those guys together would be pretty hard for Toronto to combat. But yeah, man, I think Harden does well with those kinds of centers, right? He does well when he has like a pretty the pick and rolls. He's really good at that. So I want him to play kind of like what you said, but yeah, I want him to play in that role more, right? Like just like get those guys involved, right? Instead of I could facilitate it instead of being the main ball dominant guy.
Yes.
So
Yeah, no, I mean, because I think Evan Mobley has had it's like his 5th playoff game where he's dropped less than 10 points. But I think too, what you guys are not surprised, but I found interesting. The Cavs are like 1-10 on the road in the Donovan Mitchell era in the playoffs. And so, I mean, it's great to win at home. That's like table stakes, but to really, be a real contender and get to where they want to go and like even reach the Final Four, you have to win some road games. To me, I thought it was a great opportunity for them to win Game 4 because it was a grinded out game. You're up 6 with like 2 minutes left, right? I know it's a 2-possession game, but it's a vet team. It's just find a way to win. I expect them to make adjustments. I think obviously I expect Mitchell to shoot better, but they're not going to win this series unless Mobley is that threat that they need him to be. Just my thoughts on that. I think, and then back to the East. The biggest upset I think that's on the docket is the Magic Pistons. Like, I didn't expect the Pistons. I mean, I didn't watch much of the Pistons, but you just assume the number 1 seed, like, it'll translate in the first round at least, right? But we got them on the brink of elimination. I think it is a bad matchup. The Magic just have a lot of great talent, but if we talk about an MIA, like no show, it's Jalen Duren. I think they're joking about it on the show. Like, if you see him, let me know. So I guess Viggy, I know you talked about it last time, but what do you think the Magic can do really well? Like at home, that got them the 2 games.
I mean, I think it's just a size, right? Like you talk about Duren. What's the issue that he's having right now? He's trying to muscle, he's trying to drive, but then like he's going up against like Paolo Banchero or Wendell Carter every single time he's trying to drive. So they took that essence out, right? The physicality portion that the Pistons were able to bring with some other teams doesn't really work against like Orlando Magic. If they get past the series, let's say they find a way to come back from down 3-1, who do they got waiting for them? It's either the Cavs or the Raptors, who have also got the same type of size. So I think like the Pistons trip, I mean, their little playoff expectations like end right here. I think it's over. Cade Cunningham is the one I've been more disappointed with. Duran, at least it was like a matchup issue, and like they're going up against a huge team. And I called this out like at the beginning, the Magic length was going to be an issue, but Cade Cunningham has been very, very poor for his standards. And this team, if Cade Cunningham cannot come out and produce, I don't know what the Pistons have because like yeah, they have Dune, but then like throughout the course of the year, they didn't really have a number two on that team. It was you live and die by Cade Cunningham, and right now he's just not showing up for me. So I don't. I mean, maybe they take Game 5 at home, but you come back down to Orlando. I think the Magic got it.
Yeah, just piggybacking off of what Vicky was saying. I think during the season, averaged a little less or around 3 turnovers per game. That number is up to about 6 or 7 turnovers per game. They're speeding him up, and they're speeding up a guy that does not get sped up. You know, he's a guy that plays at his own pace, and it's just crazy. The activity level is very high. They get their hands on the ball, and they just make it very uncomfortable, and they continue to do that. There was a couple of passes, even on the fast break. He threw a pass up ahead to Javante Green, and it was at his knees, and Green just kind of fell over and didn't even know what to do with it. So it was just very uncharacteristic. Overall, very, very ugly game again. The most recent game, I think it was yesterday, and it was a rock fight. What does a lower seed have to do to have a chance? They have to just bring the other higher seeded team down to their level by making it a rock fight. Lots of misses, lots of physicality, and 1 or 2 shots go this way, that way, and that's what determines the outcome. At the end of the game, a lot of open shots for Duncan Robinson, a lot of open shots for Tobias Harris. Harris actually kept them in the game with a couple of turnarounds in the mid range that helped keep it close, but there were a lot of open shots that were missed. And this is, I mean, the Pistons, there's no expectations for them to, it's not a do or die, right? This is the first year that they've really established themselves as a great team. Last year, they were a good team. They pushed the Knicks a little bit, but it was a feel-good story. This year was a feel-good story as well during the regular season. So it's not like it's going to be, oh my God, what's going on? But there's a couple moves that need to be kept in mind. Duran's up for a contract. He's probably going to be an All-NBA player. If they lose in the series and he had his pants taken down by Wendell Carter, are you going to want to pay him a supermax that is, even more of an elevated contract because he makes an All-NBA team in his contract year? I think it's like 30. He's eligible for 30% of the cap because he made an All-NBA team. I mean, those are decisions. Is he going to get more money elsewhere after he had this series? So just forecasting ahead, there's going to be some roster decisions made. Props to Isaiah Stewart, 8 blocks. He was part of the rock fight. He loves rock fights. But I mean, the Magic, this is just shocking. Biggie hit it on the head in the beginning when we talked about a week ago after game 1. I thought the Pistons would get their shit together, but this is crazy. Very impressive by the Magic to get their stuff together after that disastrous last 2 games of the season.
Yeah, let me throw this stat out for you guys. I think this surprised me. Caris LeVert and Kevin Porter barely got any run. And I think, I guess, again, I'm not here to question Coach Bickerstaff's strategy, but when you can't buy a bucket, like Herter, he's like a vet. He can get his own shot. Like, you want to like get some life injected, right? And I just felt like those 2 guys, at least LeVert can get his own shot. So I'm just surprised that some of the rotations there. And yeah, this was a grinded out game, man. The Pistons shot 37% and the Magic shot 32.6%. So it was bully ball. And when you got the size advantage and you have Paulo Banchero, like, I mean, he's starting to look like the comparisons when they drafted him. So I think it probably gets wrapped up in 6. I think the Pistons probably just how the Rockets had like their homestand. I think they're going to probably win convincingly. I am concerned though about Franz Wagner. I guess, Vicky, do we get any updates on that injury, or is he's actually out for like an extended time?
I haven't seen anything today on it. It'll be interesting to see how that plays out because if they're going to go up against like the Cavs or, I mean, I think it's going to be the Cavs, but if they're going up against the Cavs, they're going to need a Franz Wagner, especially because Wagner in like good extents of the game facilitates really well, which is something that alleviates some of Suggs' pressure. because Suggs is not as good at facilitating as some of these other guards in the playoffs right now. So Franz Wagner has been crucial in that capacity, and missing him would be a problem for the Orlando Magic. Let's see what happens with that.
Absolutely. And I guess Shibu, I know since you first time on the show, man, I guess looking at the Eastern Conference right now, like who do you think makes it to the Eastern Conference Finals? I guess who do you have like coming out the East? Like you can give us like your biased answer with the Knicks, and maybe who do you think if you think someone else actually comes out the East too?
So I think my biased answer is actually I hope it's going to be Cleveland, right? I'm always rooting for them. I'm also rooting for the Knicks because that's the hometown team. I just think they have so many glaring problems that Boston doesn't have, right? And then in the game like today that Boston blew, it was really their game to lose. So like it's just a lot of issues that they can fix, right? Someone like Peyton Pritchard is a pretty reliable guy when it comes to picking up the slack. Yeah, I just feel like someone like that, even like Vucevic, right? Not a exceptional like amazing center or anything, but like I feel like those guys, it also has a lot of coaching and that culture in drilled into them. That's a big point, and that's a big reason why I think Philly just hasn't gone over the hump in so long. So I just think Boston has everyone's number. That's my unbiased answer, right? I think Boston is definitely going to be, unfortunately, representing the Eastern Conference. I just hope it's going to be a little harder on the way there, so that by the time they do get to the finals, if they get there, they'll be a little tired out. But that's I just don't see any other team out coaching them, right? Whether it's going to be Cleveland, whether it's going to be the Knicks, I don't see anyone meeting Boston and beating them in 7 games. Not when you have Tatum back. By the time the conference finals comes, Tatum and Brown are going to regather their chemistry. They're going to figure their like magic. They're going to recreate that, right? And I mean, they were doing really good until Tatum came back. They were still like crawling their way back, right, into the top 3 seed with Brown playing real hero ball this whole year. He's been phenomenal. So I think with Tatum back and the way he's been playing, it's just they're the runaway favorites. But me personally, I would like a Cleveland or a New York, to represent the Eastern Conference. That's where I'm at.
Hey man, fingers crossed. Hopefully, hey man, if Embiid pulls off the Celtics series somehow, I will retract my criticism I've had toward him, even though he still hasn't gotten out of the second round. I'm just throwing it out there, Embiid. Hey man, just give me 2 more games. Give me 2 more games. But I think moving on to the Western Conference, I think the series that we've been pretty focused on has been the Wolves Nuggets series. And Anush, obviously, like since we last talked, my DM, you talk about a stinger losing your backcourt in the same game is a tough one to overcome. But they did take the 3-1 lead. Denver showed some life. I guess given these updates here, how we feeling? Do you think Joker should pull it off, or do you still think the Wolves can close them out in Game 6?
I mean, you better pull it off at this point. You're playing against a team without Anthony Edwards and DiVincenzo, so you don't really have a choice where to pull it out. But we'll see. I mean, again, Nikola has not shot well from 3, and it's been evident in the playoffs the last year too. So Gobert has been masterful on him. They were just Timberwolves are severely undermanned last game. You could see it from the beginning. They kept it relatively close. It seemed like the Nuggets were going to run away with it at several points in the first half last night, but still kept it close. But there was just too much going on, and there was an increased sense of urgency from the Nuggets side, especially yesterday. They didn't want to be embarrassed. They are champions after all, so they have a history of that. Where's the offense going to come from on the Timberwolves side? The Nuggets suck on defense. We know that, but I mean, I would assume he's great, but he's not going to have the 40-point game every night. So where do you manufacture those points? When is Julius Randle going to put his head down and be like, I'm going to overpower this front court of the Nuggets and actually make this game my own? That's what it's going to come down to. Is Jaden McDaniels going to continue to drive to the hole instead of settling for outside jumpers? His defense is great, but he has to bring the offense on the energy on offense as well, because the team needs it. So it's kind of a pride issue for the Nuggets at this point, and the Timberwolves have to play like they have nothing to lose and try to get one of these final games.
Wasn't Jaden McDaniels that dropped like a career playoff high the last game? Was it like 43 points?
No,
it was Ayo DeSumo. Ayo
Yeah.
Dosunmu. He was
Osumu.
Dosunmu. Yeah, he's the guy that the Bulls traded away for 4.
That's why I let it. Man, y'all got Jaden Ivey and you had Kobe, or you traded Kobe White, but
Yeah, we got
that's a hot mess. It's a hot mess. But Shibu, me and you were talking about this, man. In terms of superstar criticism, Anush, I know you brought it up, they're champions, but that championship has collected a little bit of dust now, man. It's been 3 years. And, compared to any other superstar, right? We're not going to put him on LeBron status because LeBron gets criticized for wearing the wrong shoes. Like we talked about. If Joker loses the series, or even if he loses to the Spurs, it'll be 3 years since he's played like Final Four, like conference championship level basketball. And yes, Jamal Murray got hurt 2 years ago, but like, dude, to lose a 20-point lead in a game 7 at home, like, I don't know, man. I just think the media has protected him like they did Steph for a little bit, where if it was Luka, if it was Katie, if it was Steph, even if it was Tatum, man, they get crucified. That carries First Take and all these shows headlines for 2 weeks. Joker just kind of flies under the radar. And I think it is time he gets some smoke if he like loses and underperforms this year. Because, dude, I know Aaron Gordon's a great player, but you can't justify losing by 35 points without Aaron Gordon. Like, come on now, And even last year, I mean, they had the veteran experience. I know Aaron Gordon's injury like played a part, but if you're that dude in your prime and you have a running mate, doesn't have to be an all-time great. If you have a running mate, you're expected to kind of get through. And so I'm just curious, like, do you think Joker deserves some criticism if they choke this series or even the next one against Spurs?
So I think he does because it's the way you get eliminated, right? If you pull like a Brooklyn Nets 2021 Kevin Durant, right? And you drop like 40, 45 points back to back and your other stars are injured. Like he had his co-stars every injured. Harden was playing on like one leg and he was playing hero ball. And then he got eliminated by Giannis, right? Who went on to win the championship. I don't think that deserves, like, I don't think people were really hating on him, right? Because he actually gave it his all. But then the following year, I think when he had a relatively healthier Brooklyn Nets team, he did get eliminated again. But then he got eliminated. I believe they got swept by the Boston Celtics that year, and so the way he like Kevin Durant is going to be Kevin Durant, but like the way those guys defended him, right, in that series, I feel like that deserves criticism because of how he couldn't get over the hump, especially after the whole fiasco, right, getting into getting out of the Warriors, getting into Brooklyn. So for Jokic, obviously they're going to be appreciative of the fact that he stayed with the Nuggets. He carried a team on his back all these years. So there's going to be a lot of people that are going to reward that, right? Like they reward Steph for never leaving the war. However, you do have to get to the point where putting that aside, that's the price you pay, right? If you want to stay loyal to one team, you got to go with the ebbs and flow, and you got to represent that team throughout the whole process. And that means, like shooting like to the standard you're known to shoot at, right? He's still like literally like probably the best player in the league, right? So like if you want that, if you're gonna have that title as the best player in the league, you're dropping triple doubles the whole postseason, and I think he has like the most rebounds, the defensive rebounds. I think his defensive stats also improved over the regular season. And then you flame out like that, right, to your new rivals, the Timberwolves. And then also add on to the fact that like leadership you have to, if you are not only best player in the league, you're like the franchise, leader, you have to represent your team, right? Before even going like as far as being the face of the NBA, you got to represent your team. You can't, get that pissed towards the end of the game when you guys already lost by 20 points because Jaden McDaniels decides to shoot a layup because it's an unbroken rule that you're not supposed to do that. I hate that rule, by the way. That's a stupid rule. But like you can't get pissed at that. He's running across the court, right? And then everyone's I'm finally seeing some people clown him on Twitter, like, oh, he ran so much faster towards Jaden McDaniels than he played defense and the whole like game, which is true. I think he got rightfully criticized for that, and I do think so. Like you can't do that, man. As a leader, as a leader of the team, that's just like that's just like poor leadership, in my opinion. So I do think he deserves to get criticized, but I think he actually will get criticized. This was kind of people are going to turn on him. That's what I.
Yeah, I think we alluded to. I think that you brought up too, where it's like there's major implications for the Nuggets depending on this playoff run, right? Because I do think Murray maybe gets shipped out, and even they look back at that Porter trade. Because I know again, Porter Jr. he takes some reckless shots, but like you could have used him in this series where Murray is getting hounded by McDaniels and Joker is, frankly getting outplayed by Gobert. So that's I think we all expect. It sounds like the Nuggets are probably going to pull it out in 7, but if the Wolves pull it out, maybe you buy Ant some time. I do think they said it's a couple weeks. If they can close this out, you might get Ant for like a game 3, game 4 against the Spurs, and you never know, right? They might be back in the conference finals. But speaking of the Blazers, I've just been tracking the score. They were down by 20 like the entire game, and they just went on like a 12-0 run, so it's now actually a ball game with like 7 minutes left. So I know we were worried about Wemby being injured, how the Spurs are going to show up. I mean, Harper, Castle, De'Aaron, like they held it down for those 2 games, and it looks like they might blow this one. But assuming like this goes to game 6, how do we feel about the Spurs? Do we trust them to close it out, or do you think this one potentially could go the distance?
You want to start?
Yeah, sure. I mean, so the thing with playing a team like Portland Trailblazers is they're a young team, they're a scrappy team. They're going to have games where, even within the game, they're going to have moments where they have stretches where they're outplaying you, right? And if you fall asleep, they could really pull one on you. I don't think they do 4 games of that. I think the Spurs still win. I think it's just kind of one of those teams that is really fun to watch. They're making their announcement, kind of like what the Hawks did with the Knicks a little bit, right? A couple of the young guys stepping up their first time in the stage. They do have Drew Holiday, and he's been doing a great job on De'Aaron Fox and the guards on the Spurs. Holiday still got some of the defensive capabilities he's had in the past, but I don't see the Blazers coming back and winning against the Spurs. Even this game, like I would expect the Spurs to close it out, hopefully, but it don't tell you, right? Because um, apart from, I think, De'Aaron Fox and Harrison Barnes, I don't think anybody else has been in the playoffs on that roster. So, as good as the Spurs are, as good as Wemby is, and so forth, this is also an inexperienced team. And when they do come up against, like, let's say, is it going to be Denver? Is it going to be the Wolves? I don't know. It's going to be the Wolves without Edwards. Maybe, the Spurs got a shot. I mean, Spurs can have the better team on the court on a given night, but let's see, maybe inexperience rears its head. And that's kind of been an issue here in the Blazers series too, right? They could have put them away. They could have swept the Blazers, but it hasn't happened because the Spurs themselves are inexperienced. They're very talented, and they're probably the second best team in the West right now, but still inexperienced, and playoffs is a very different game.
Yeah, the Blazers have been pesky. Hasn't always showed up in the win column, but they've been pesky throughout. I just don't think they have the firepower to match up with the Spurs when they're at full strength. Wembanyama came out and he actually said that, concussion, and he said he wasn't really happy with how it was handled and stuff, but I don't know what that means. I don't think it's going to have any lingering effects going forward. Backcourt stuff is, I wouldn't say evenly matched, but that's obviously Portland's strength with Denny as the main ball handler and creator. Drew Holiday is a secondary ball handler, as well as their shooters on the wings. But the inside matchup is just way in favor of the Spurs, which is kind of driving the series to the point that it has come to. It was really exemplified in the previous game where I think the Blazers were up double digits, and then the third quarter comes and the Spurs just turned it on, and it was just like an embarrassment of riches on their end. They just decided to shut them down, and it flipped. It was like, wait, we're down 15, now we're up 15. How did that feel? It's there's a talent deficit. They're just not as experienced, but they have a lot of pride and they have a lot of grit. So we'll see how it takes them, especially in the next round when they're probably going to go against either an undermanned Nuggets team without Aaron Gordon or just a completely decimated Timberwolves team. It's setting up for them pretty well, and maybe even a crash course with the guys that swept the Suns, the Thunder, who they play well against. So it's going to be exciting.
Yeah, man, I think Devin Booker is a go-to guy for Cabo Rex. Last night, they got fish that. No, he's nice, but yeah, I mean, dude, I think that's probably the one series we were like pretty confident was going to be a sweep that actually like manifested to be a sweep. Hey, I know for all the ethical, unethical hoops that people have had on Shea and the foul baiting, a masterclass in Game 3, dude, like shooting 80% and getting 40 points. I mean, they took care of business, which we expected. I do think the main concern for them is Jalen Williams' health, right? I mean, hamstrings are hamstrings, that Anush, as our in-house doc knows. So, it's important for that, I think, him to get recovered and, be ready, because I do think we're headed towards that showdown with the Spurs and Thunder, which I think the basketball universe wants. But yeah, I mean, there really wasn't much of a story here. I think the biggest story really now is like, do the Suns get off of Booker? Because it's clear he's not a number one option. And it's crazy, man, because I don't know if you guys remember, like, it just feel like yesterday they were like going to the finals against the Bucks. They had that huge, season only to lose by 55 points. I didn't lie, 55 points in game 7. And then they got KD. Like it went here to zero so quick. So I think as a franchise, they probably should look to move off Booker just to do them both a solid, but I don't know. So I guess what's your guys' thoughts? If you're the GM of the Suns right now, what's your next 2 moves you're doing?
Wait, you want to start?
I don't know. He he obviously was a franchise. He was supposed to lead the franchise. If you want to move him, right? If I'm the GM of the Suns, I don't know. That's tough because I don't know what we're going to get for him, right? Like I guess there's a lot of places where he would be a good fit. Like I think someone mentioned in the chat, he could go to Miami potentially, and that would be probably pairing well with Bam. I don't know. I don't know who would get in return for him, honestly, because I haven't looked at his contract. I'm not sure like what that's going to be, right? How that's going to impact the trade if he does get traded. But as a GM, I think you do want to build around, I guess, the younger guys at this point, So that's, yeah, I guess I'm like, I would be at a loss.
It's hard for them. I mean, the reason I don't think they're going to trade Booker is because they can't bottom out because they don't have their picks. So they can't just tank and be like, hey, we're going to tank, we're going to lose. Someone else is going to benefit off of that. So because of that, they're just going to keep trying to scrap things together and hope for the best. I mean, they overachieved a lot even this year. They were not supposed to be here. They were not supposed to sniff the playoffs. They were supposed to be a bottom feeder team to begin with. So it was impressive what they ended up accomplishing despite that. Brooks and Booker and even Colin Gillespie, Mark Williams, they were really, really good at scrapping and taking advantage of just the doldrums of the regular season and blitzing teams when other people may have not tried as hard just because it's the regular season game. A couple of interesting things. I mean, they still have Jalen Green, who they got back for the Kevin Durant trade, so they could try to flip him. He's not really a winning player. So if they do try to flip him to a team that's starved for offensive talent, maybe they don't lose much in terms of, plus minus or the winning component while trying to upgrade with other picks or talent. They could go that route. Their the rookie center, Kaman Malawach, barely saw the court. I think he was in G League for a while, came up a little bit at the end of the season. See if he makes a leap to try to help them in that area. Mark Williams was solid throughout the season, but he has trouble staying healthy. Maybe Colin Gillespie actually comes in and helps them a little bit more when they may possibly get rid of Jalen Green. But it's tough just because they're so hamstrung by the lack of picks. I just don't know if they move off of Booker, but we'll see.
Viggy, anything?
I mean, I think you guys kind of like hit the main points. I think the only direction that they can go in is if there's a team like a Miami, for instance, who is willing to give up a whole bunch of picks because the Suns do need picks. It won't be their picks, so like even if they decide to throw a season away, like they're not going to get the benefit of getting a lottery, but at least like they'll have some draft picks. The other direction that could potentially go, I mean, they could potentially go in and they might have a good trading partner, might be the Denver Nuggets, right? If the Denver Nuggets fall flat on their face this series, I mean, I don't see why you don't explore the potential of maybe Jamal Murray and a few picks to get Devin Booker up in Denver, right? Try somebody else with Joker and see if it goes a little bit different. Denver does have the ability to give up a couple of young pieces off the roster, maybe add a couple of like vet minimums going to next year. People would be willing to come down and play with the Joker. But, it is going to be tough. I think so we talked about, I think it was 2021 NBA Finals, right? But then that roster was like completely different. It was Chris Paul at point guard, Devin Booker, DeAndre Ayton. If I'm not mistaken.
Bridges. Bridges. New York's
Bridges,
villain,
yeah.
Bridges.
I was going to say.
Yeah, he was there.
If I'm not mistaken, he was there. So then, like, he got traded to Brooklyn afterwards because he got traded in a Kevin Durant trade. So Bridges was
Yes,
there.
sir.
So, yep, exactly. So I was like pausing for a second, but yeah, they had Michael Bridges. That's where he started off. And that was a different team. They could play defense. They had a very good facilitator in Chris Paul. Ran the team really well on the court. Game managed really well. We did see it collapse a little bit once they got to NBA Finals. They won the first 2 games. And then the Bucks won 4 consecutive after Drew Holiday decided to become like a Finals MVP caliber player. We'll see. I mean, it's tough. It's tough. Like, I would like to see him go to Miami, or I would like to see Denver try to explore a trade for it. Apart from that, I don't really know what you do as the GM of the Suns right now.
Makes
I
sense. And
just
I think
looked
I
at
was
it. Yeah.
go to news.
I just wanted to add one thing. Sorry. I just checked. The Suns don't have their own first round pick, or they don't have control over it due to swap reasons until 2032. That's the damage that was done. They traded all that stuff for Bradley Beal and Kevin Durant, and neither of them are around. So it's just like, yeah.
Damn, if there's I mean, I think they did the 2K override, but hey, I think we all can agree though. There's no trade when we look back at history will ever be worse than the Paul George to the Clipper or the Thunder or Shea to the Thunder and Paul George to the Clippers. That's probably the greatest Grand Theft Teast of all time. But you know, it was the
Fucking
reason why I
shame.
brought up that right was like, dude, if you look at it, just like in the East, you know, obviously there was like the LeBron era, and then there was like the Celtics, and then there was the Bucks. But the West, like, it's just the era is shaped so differently, right? I think I was only thinking about that because I saw the Suns Thunder play, but like it was the Suns, you had the Warriors sneak a ring in, then the Nuggets, and then it was like the Mavs snuck a couple conference finals in. So like it's revolving, and so I think the Suns unfortunately just missed their window. And I think now it's like the Thunder Spurs era. But, you know, hey, I had to be unbiased as a host, but we do have to show some love to the last series of the Lakers Rockets. This one's been peculiar, man, because, yeah, Niche, game 3 was crazy. I turned it off after I saw them down 8 with like 40
Me
seconds
too.
or 6. I was like, bro, like, come on, man. Like, this is crazy. And you could ask the group chat. I was cussing out the Lakers for not showing up. But hey, dude, the Rockets found a way to lose, which is crazy, but then they bounced back. So I think I trust the Lakers to close it out because they don't want to drag this out. Reeves might come back, but I think the real elephant in the room is KD, man. Because like I think even everyone was talking about like, how do you not sit on the bench for game 3? Like I understand you're injured, but I think there just seems to be some unnecessary tension and distance there. So even if they like say they come back and win this series, I do think there's just some damage. I don't know if they can like kind of rebuild because he also has been dissing his teammates with some burner accounts throughout the season. So, you know, I just think there's like a lot of hostility there. So I guess I'll let y'all unpack, you know, the next saga of Durant.
So you want to start off?
Yeah, I mean, this was like a big surprise to a lot of people, right? The Rockets were heavily favored due to a depleted Lakers team. So I think Luke Kennard and Marcus Smart finding their rhythm together, that was like a big, delightful surprise to Lakers, right? And then LeBron was able to do what he wanted to do at any time, right? At any time of the game. It was crazy. He was like all over the place defensively too, in some key moments, especially in Game 3. And also just like a well-rounded, facilitator, getting everyone involved. So Rui also had some good standout moments. I think they really exploited the crap out of Singu for like, the Game 2. Game 3, he had a nice little bounce back game. But I was just so shocked at how like the rest of the cast just stood around. Even when KD was playing, they all just stood around like dandelions, right? Like they didn't really have any real rhythm offensive. They had some good defensive moments against the Lakers, but it was just really appalling to see their really stagnant offense with and without KD. So yeah, it was definitely like surprising to see the Lakers exploit that. And then Marcus Smart really stepping up in the absence of Reeves. So and in the absence obviously of Luca. So I think what happened was they were really fatigued, right? Because they still are shorthanded. So it just looked like everyone was kind of gassed in the last game. I think they hopefully take time to recoup and close it out. I believe they will close it out on Wednesday, but it was definitely a surprise. Definitely a bit of a surprise, um, given the fact that like they were the favorite, and the Lakers are a little undermanned. Definitely a bit of a surprise, but the Lakers, the late Phil, so a good surprise.
The game, I mean, game 3, it was over. I mean, there was less than a minute remaining, 6-point lead. Then I think it was Lakers ball, 6-point lead, and they were like, all right, they're gonna shoot a 3 or they're gonna try to do something. Ime Udoka at that point, he took out. It was a offense defense substitution, so he took out Reed Shepherd, put in Jayshawn Tate, who was a pretty high IQ defensive player on that last or second last possession to try to get a better defensive matchup. What does he do? Straight goes into Marcus Smart, fouls him on a 3-point attempt. The one thing you cannot do. And I was like, is this really happening? Like, this is crazy. Why would you? Well, first of all, why would you bring him off the bench? Like, he's played 2 minutes so far, the whole game. I understand you hate Reed Shepherd on defense. You hate him. You hate him so much that you benched him throughout game 2, ruining the entire Houston Rockets offense and just submarining that just because you hate him on defense. And then you decide to take him out Bring in this guy who hasn't played all game. He's just cold on the bench, sitting there the whole game. Bring him in. Obviously, what he does fouls Marcus Smart on a 3-pointer. And then they turn it over again. They can't even get it past half court. Then LeBron does what LeBron does. He's clutch, hits a 3, takes the overtime. Houston's not coming back because their whole air was sucked out of their team. It was crazy. Props to LeBron. Keeps doing it. I think game 4, he ran out of steam a little bit. I mean, he's on the older side. He did run out of steam a little bit, but I mean, 3-1, they need to get one more. I think it happens. I don't know if KD comes back. I actually haven't seen anything, or I just haven't paid attention to it. It's pretty disastrous. Props to the Lakers. I think Reeves is questionable to play in game 5. I think they were hoping that they'd pull it out and they don't even have to dust him off the shelf for the first round, but maybe he comes in, gets a game under his belt before they have to take on the Thunder in round 2.
I think it's chess moves a little bit too. I think they keep him on the report just in case. But I don't know. I think I saw a practice interview that was posted. He might. We'll see. I think it's up to JJ. The one thing I will say with JJ, I was surprised he just hasn't used his bench as much in spurts. I think like someone like Dalton Connect, or even like I forget the other rookie. Like they could have just bought guys a couple of minutes. Because the problem with the Lakers when LeBron and Marcus Smart go to the bench, they just don't have anyone to get a bucket, right? Like the offense just stagnates a little bit. I mean, I'm not here to question JJ, but I do think JJ, you might want to give some other guys some runs so you don't wear your main person to the ground. Viggy, what's your thoughts, man? I guess we talked about it, but how do you view the series and so overall?
Well, right off the bat, I think you guys are talking about the Rockets. I think the vibes are off. Houston, we don't got a problem. We got multiple problems. It's not looking good in Houston. I think the one thing I would like to highlight is this series, LeBron, even if he's not going to be the kind of not ball dominant, but then like the ball heavy facilitator slash scorer slash like rebounder, what he's done for 22 seasons now, even if he's not that in his next season, this series he showed us that he can still be a legitimate top 5, top 6 power forward in the league. If he wants to reduce his role and just play power forward for a team, like he can go out there and be better than I think at least 20 of the starting power forwards that we have right now. Because of his brute strength, his footwork, his ability to finish around the basket, his basketball IQ. He can maybe do 2 more seasons. He doesn't have to bring the ball up. He doesn't have to facilitate. He doesn't have to take on all the load that might make him run out of gas, might cause fatigue. He could stick to one role, and that could be like a power forward role, and he can still play like maybe 2 more seasons, man. You got to stop for a second and give him his, flowers, because he came out this series and did what, Katie didn't do. LeBron is a consummate professional, and did not hang his head, did not get overtly frustrated with the rest of his teammates anywhere in the series, even though he lost Luka Doncic, who was supposed to shoulder much of the weight. LeBron stepped up to the plate. He's been doing this for a long time, and he showed us why he's still around and why he's still somebody who is sought out for, even though he's much older than any star has been in NBA history, still being this good at this age. So flowers to him.
Absolutely. King of Akron, he's doing his thing, and we appreciate you. I know there's a lot of talk about him leaving, but hey, he's doing his thing. And the one thing I was going to ask y'all too is dude, as great as Kevin Durant is, are you guys not surprised at how he can't handle a double team? I just find it really crazy how someone who's had the ball in his hand that much, right? It looks like he looked like Jake LaRavia. I don't know if you saw the game. There's a couple of times where my boy Jake just looks like he doesn't belong on the court. Again, he got them some good run during the season, but he just looks confused. He looks like he doesn't even want to be on the court. And Katie if you look at game 2, just every time they double him, he just seems to be confused. What do I do? And so that to me just surprised me as someone who is arguably a top 20, 25 player, just how you can't handle double teams. So I feel like that's, as a perimeter player, that's just kind of one of the things you just expected to, overcome.
Yeah, I mean,
ever since, go ahead, Mr.
So, I mean, all I want to say was, in the past, when he does get the double team, right, whichever direction it's coming from, he usually pivots to the opposite direction and goes for a fadeaway shot. He's typically good at it, and that's how he kind of has always escaped those double teams. Spin the other direction and fire a fadeaway shot that he's going to get off and hit. He's a better iteration of Dirk Nowitzki. He hasn't been doing that. To your point, he hasn't been doing that in the series. That's the one thing that stood out to me.
His handle's come a long way since when he started. I mean, he was not a good ball handler when he first came in the league. Come a long way, but he doesn't have this. I mean, that's a couple things. Obviously, him and LeBron are very different players, but one of the things that really separates them is the playmaking. He's not a natural playmaker. He's a natural scorer, but not a natural playmaker that often is able to make the right read. And, he's gotten a lot better, but it's just not his first go-to instinct, right? So he does struggle when there's a lot of on-ball pressure. And especially in this series, I mean, Marcus Smart. We talk about LeBron doing all, Marcus Smart was like, he was not playing. I mean, he's on the Wizards. No one knew what he was doing the past couple of years. And this season, I mean, this playoff series, he's had an out of body experience. It was crazy. I was watching that game on Friday. He was so crucial. This is like prime Marcus Smart. I've never seen anything like this. He was always a no, yes guy in terms of offense. And he was just so confident hitting everything. So sorry, I didn't mean to distract from the Kevin Durant thing, but it's just not what he does. And that's part of the reason this Rockets team has been so uneven throughout the season, even is he's had to take up the responsibility of ball handler and dribbling it up to their lack of point guard and their lack of trust with Reed Shepherd, who himself is not really a natural point guard either. He's a shooter. So it's a kind of a couple guys in positions that aren't really what their niche is, including Durant because of the Fred VanVleet injury and their lack of aggressiveness in getting a guy like Ayo Dosunmu over the trade deadline. I mean, imagine if that guy was on the Rockets. That would be perfect. They need a ball handler. They need an on-ball defender, point of attack guy that disrupts things. Anyway, it's like they treated it like a gap year. They're like, oh, well, we'll see what happens when Fred VanVleet comes back next year. But that's what you get for treating it like a gap year. It's a gap year.
Yeah, and I guess I was dying because I think Jeff Van Gundy said like they've been, they've been without a point guard since September. Like you couldn't figure that out.
Yeah, exactly.
Like why did you not make a move like in the trade deadline or like the buyout? But yeah, I think the other thing I was going to bring up too, like I just maybe this we have to reset expectations for like Amin Thompson and Alfred Sengun, because I thought Sengun, because he had that All-Star year, he was really going to be, I wouldn't say 1A or 1B, but like just a steady like performer, dude. I just felt like he wasn't that equalizer for them this series. Like he figured some things out game 3, game 4, but like on the road, you don't have KD, like you got to turn up a notch, right? And I think they didn't really feature him enough. And then Amin Thompson, phenomenal defending, right? But I thought we expected him to take that leap to really be like that premier guard. And so I think that's maybe the gap, right? Because I think they obviously looked at KD. It's like you add him on top of their development, we have some diverse, like KD has to cover this much gap without a point guard.
Anything that you want to?
No, I just wanted to say, I think what Anush said was what the players playing off their comfort level. That's the main thing. I think that goes back to the whole Kevin Durant thing. I think he's used to having someone like in this team, if their Vance Sleep, right, was healthy and playing, I feel like he could rely on him on those double teams. And then obviously in the Warriors, he didn't have that issue, right? He could they wouldn't be trying to double team him all the time in a team with like a prime Clay and a prime Steph. You know what I mean? And even like in those other teams, like in Brooklyn, like that wouldn't be like the offensive scheme. So even as elite as he is scoring, and he is a decent passer, I would say for a forward. He's not that kind of player. That's not his.
Right.
That's not his. It's not how he plays, right? So that's why I think he hasn't got a chance to evolve in that double team capacity.
Makes sense. And then, fella, I've been checking the Spurs Blazers game. It looks like that's going to wrap in 5. So we officially have 2 series in the Western Conference done. I think Booker will probably send Denny and the crew like the reservation details in Cabo, for vacation. I mean, it wasn't a surprise, but yeah, I mean, I think it looks like the West holds to its power ranks. The top 2 seeds are advancing, which we'd expect. But yeah, as we wrap it up, fellas, I'm just curious, any predictions, any hot takes? Shibu Noosh, I know y'all were out last week, but anything we should look for specific? Well, yeah, what's your thoughts, man? What are we thinking as we wrap up in terms of where the playoffs are going?
I think it's been exciting. I do think that the Knicks will eventually take out the Celtics. If they do, I think they'll advance. I think both of them will advance, but I do think they'll take them out. I think the front court depth is just going to be too much to overcome in terms of the gap between the Knicks and the Celtics.
Mhm.
So that would be my one prediction. assuming everything holds course and they actually advance, of course.
I wouldn't be mad at it. Let's hope it comes true. And Shibu's pulling for them too. I guess. Shibu, anything, man? What's if you had to? You're going through your prediction ball. What do you think is going to come true?
I would love that to happen too. This city would be just in so much high spirits. It already is, just with the Knicks already in the playoffs and doing it. That would be awesome if that happens. But I do think it's going to be in the conference finals for sure. I don't know. I don't have as much faith, I guess, in them. Unfortunately, if I'm being objective, I don't know. I just think the chemistry of Tatum and Brown, their offensive setup, and then their defensive presence is just going to be. It's just too well rounded, right? And then like the Knicks are going to make a bunch of mistakes. I feel like it's going to come down to the coaching. This year, I don't know, man. There's something about like a couple of offensive lapses that I feel like will cost them against a team like Boston. But in the West, unfortunately, I hate to say it, but I just think it's going to be OKC. The Spurs, I mean, I love what they're doing with the Fox, getting Castile involved, and obviously you got Wemby, the big monster coming out. He's gonna have I really want him. I was predicting maybe he'll have his 2007 LeBron moment and against the Pistons. They could have outtook the Pistons. He could do it, right? And he could will the Spurs to the finals. That's what I would like to happen. So that's a possibility. But I do, again, I'm an optimist, I just think they're still too young. And I think it's going to be the Thunder. So I think it's going to be the Thunder versus, unfortunately.
I was gonna just say, man. I know Wemby's a young cat, but he got a little bit more of a crew than the 07 cap. I mean,
He does. He does.
I think if you ask people in Cleveland, they probably can't even name anyone on that Caps roster outside of Mo Gibson and Julius Legauskas. So no, he definitely.
Yeah.
Victor's coming with the crew.
And just one final thing, just in terms of if the Cavs lose in the first round, I think at least 20% of their starting lineup gets traded. I just think so. You trade your 26-year-old all-star point guard for a 36-year-old all-time point guard, sure, but if that's not going to increase your ceiling, then you gotta make some changes. That's another thing that I think will go down this season. This offseason.
Sure. Yeah, hey, nothing changes, So that's insane. But Viggy, it looks like they're ready to crown the Magic the winner of that series, man. How we feeling about the rest of the playoffs, and any bold predictions on your end as we wrap up?
So on the West, Thunder, they do get a little bit of an advantage because they're gonna probably play the Lakers next round, and the Lakers are probably gonna hold out Luka because it's a very difficult matchup. And I think Thunders will probably roll through the Lakers quite easily. So Thunder are going to remain rested. The one thing I will point out is if you look at the regular season, the Spurs are the one team that consistently gave Thunder trouble. Even when the Thunder went on that crazy streak where people start talking about, oh, hey, can they beat the Golden State record and so forth, they lost the Spurs twice within a span of a week after that whole streak. The Spurs have proven to have the right roster to maybe give Thunder some trouble, but the experience might be a thing. Let's see what ends up happening. But on the West, right now it looks like maybe the Thunder, just because they're going to be so rested and we got better legs. The Spurs are going to go up against Denver, or Minnesota. I don't know what's going to happen there, but either way, I think they'll give Spurs a run. At least make them work for it. And so Spurs are going to go play the Thunder off that. So I'm guessing maybe Thunder in the West. East is going to be interesting. You got the Celtics and the Knicks in the second round, likely. So only one of them can go to the Eastern Conference Finals. So the other has to be a Magic or a Cavs team. So now all of a sudden you're looking at it and you're saying, okay, depending on how the second round goes, and if the Knicks or the Celtics come up banged up, could the Cavs or the Magic be in NBA Finals, right? So that's going to be something interesting to keep an eye on. If the Cavs and the Magic are playing each other, they're probably going to be banged up themselves because they're both very physical teams. The Magic love to slow it down, and they like the physical, slow-paced, type of game style, and Cavaliers are fine with that type of style as well. I would like to see Donovan Mitchell step it up, but Anush, to his point, I think the Cavs are just in it for one more year, right? Donovan Mitchell's contract is up next year. So they're putting everything in it right now for it to work with Donovan Mitchell, see if it works out. If not, I think they already made up their mind that this is a 2-year project. That's why they traded away Garland. Maximize right now, or else let's go back into a rebuild mood. Because right now with the Celtics, the way they look, the way the Knicks look, and some of these other teams upcoming, like you're not going to build a high ceiling team with the players that you have right now. You're going to have to reset a little bit anyway. So I think they're going to push their luck with Donovan Mitchell this season and next season, and then part ways after that.
Absolutely. I guess my one hot take I was gonna say, maybe it's more due to I'm a Lakers fan. I think the Celtics Sixers actually go 7. I changed my pick. I think it'll go the distance. So
Okay.
I don't know which other series had go 7, but I could see that one. I think they'll go 7. Boston will probably prevail, but I think Philly Boston, the great rivalry, man, it would be great to see them go 7 with them beat a couple games under them and see, hey, roll it out. May the best team win.
Game 7 buzzer beaters, right?
Yeah, that's what it's about. But with that, folks, I think that's the crew signing off. We'll be back with some more content and hot takes. But anything else, guys? Or we good?
I think we're good.
Let's watch some basketball.
Yeah,
Absolutely. Well, appreciate y'all. Shout out to Spectrum for blessing Viggy with some internet for an hour and a half. We just hope y'all keep it up for a couple more weeks. Damn, Spectrum, bro. Step your game up, man.
Hot spot.
Shout out to Hot Spots.
Ciao, guys. Peace.